All right, what's up everybody? Nick with Velox Training Group, and today I've got a quick little video here. I feel like this would be a good topic. Someone asked a question on one of my posts. How do you draw the gun and press the trigger and dry fire that fast and that aggressively and the gun doesn't move? So I think this would be a really good topic to cover because I think that a lot of people tend to be slightly confused on how to actually get to that point to where you can bang on the trigger and the gun doesn't move at all. So let's start off by saying I feel like it's 100% has to do with what your grip is doing. And what I mean is what a lot of people do when they start going really fast, they'll start doing is like pressing the trigger with their entire firing hand, right? So like in other words, you'll get a draw, you're like, yup, that's the grip that I want. And then maybe 2 to 3 rounds in, the support hand starts coming off of the gun, so you're not squeezing as hard as you would be when you first drew the gun. And then this firing hand starts taking over. And when this firing hand takes over, like you will press the trigger with your entire hand and then the gun moves all over the place. So I think that what we need to learn how to do is grip the gun in such a way to where I can bang on the trigger and the gun doesn't move at all. So what I try to think about with this stuff is, especially in dry fire, how do I isolate my trigger finger? How can I make that be the only thing that moves when I draw the gun and press the trigger really, really aggressively like that? All I'm trying to do here is isolate the trigger finger and make that be the only thing that moves. But you can't do that if you have a really, really tight firing hand grip, because what you'll see a lot of is this, like you'll press the trigger with your whole hand and this hand will more or less like pulse on the gun as you're pressing the trigger, and you'll see a ton of movement. So I think that when people dry fire trigger press, a lot of the time they go about it in a really inefficient way that is not going to transfer over to live fire. They do it in a way that makes them feel good in dry fire. And I don't believe this to be a really good mode of training at all. And what I mean is like they'll draw the gun, they'll get a sight picture, and then they'll like do something like prep, and then they'll like slowly break through the trigger, and they're like, yup, sweet, that was a great trigger press, the dot didn't move at all. What you guys have to think about is when you did that, you're not learning anything in terms of things that are going to transfer into live fire, right? Yes, there might be times where like you've got a popper at 25, 30 yards and like you're gonna have to prep and then like be very, very careful when you break the trigger because you're trying not to move the gun. But the majority of the targets that are like 15 yards and in are not going to go that way. So here's what I would suggest to you guys that are having trouble kind of not moving the gun around when you break the trigger really quickly. So one thing that you could look at first is, we talked about isolating that trigger finger before. Like see what you need to do with this hand in terms of what these fingers feel like, in terms of like how loose they are, how tight they are, to get them to move minimally when you start pressing the trigger like this. And you really don't even need a gun in your hand. If I tense this hand up and press the trigger really quickly, like you could even see thumb and pinky move that time, but if I try to relax it and move that trigger finger really quickly, these fingers move a whole lot less. So you could try that out, see what it feels like in that hand. Another thing that I would do is a great drill from the PSTG guys, it's called trigger control at speed. What that would look like is you are going to start, get in front of the camera here, start with your trigger finger inside of the trigger guard like this. On the beep, you're basically going to smash the trigger, like that. There's a little bit too much movement there. Try it again. Hopefully this camera's focusing. Okay, one more time to show you guys. Okay, and what we're trying to do here is essentially figure out like, hey, how do I need to grip the gun and what do I need to feel in my hands to where the only thing that is going to move is the trigger finger. A really good place to figure out what types of grip pressures you need to put on the gun is live fire. So shooting things like doubles, practical accuracy, anything like that where you're basically focusing on shooting the gun as straight as humanly possible. And like these are places where, or these are drills where they were like give you the opportunity to focus on what types of grip pressures are working for you and what isn't. Another really good tool for this, while you guys shoot doubles, put up a camera right next to you on a tripod, put it in slow-mo, and see how the gun is actually behaving on that slow-mo video. This is going to tell you a lot about what you're doing with your grip pressures. I've got 2 videos here that I'll roll in. One of them is me putting a ton of grip pressure with my firing hand. And as you guys can see in the video, the gun, instead of lifting straight up and then coming straight back down to the spot that I'm trying to hit, is actually dipping below the spot that I'm trying to hit before it comes back up. That would be firing hand tension. That would be you pressing the trigger with your entire hand and driving the gun below the spot that you're trying to hit. This next video here, as you guys can see, the gun lifts and comes straight back down to the spot that I am looking at. Another thing that's going to go along with this is the spot that you're looking is going to be like a big time aid in returning the gun like quickly and precisely to the spot that you're trying to hit. This is going to help you like figure out how not to move the gun around when you press the trigger. So make sure you're looking to a really small spot. That's going to help return the gun. And then with that, you could figure out the types of grip pressures that you need to go ahead and supplement that visual piece and make the gun return faster and more precise. So the goal of this would be, I put these types of pressures, I figure out the types of pressures that need to be on the gun with both hands, like really hard with the support hand, not as much with the firing hand, because again, I don't want this firing hand to be moving around a whole lot when I'm trying to break the trigger quickly. I feel what types of pressures that I need, and then all I'm going to do with that is break the trigger as quickly and as fast, or as quickly and as basically as hard to the rear as I possibly can. This is going to simulate what live fire actually is, or what live fire will actually look like to you guys. Another thing that I used to do quite a bit of is I would do something like on the beep, draw the gun and shoot 6 as fast as I possibly can. And I would run the trigger as fast as I possibly can. This is important, right? And I think that a lot of the time people get somewhat discouraged when they train like this because they go, man, it looks like crap, like the dot is moving all over the place. That's okay, like this is good. This means that we can actually see what's happening during live fire, right? Because if that's what's happening in dry fire and you see the dot moving all over the place when you're trying to press the trigger really quickly, chances are that's doing that in live fire too. But if you can bring that up in your training to a point to where you can like see it and assess it, then you could start to apply things like cause and effect and start to get rid of, you know, the amount of dot movement that you have or that you're seeing in your dry fire. So hopefully that helps. If you guys have any questions, as always, go ahead and shoot them in the comment box below. Always happy to answer them. I will also stick my website link in the description below. You can get on there, see where all the classes are. I'm basically everywhere, all over the country this year. Check it out, go see where the classes are, sign up for a class. I'll see you guys on the range.